Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And it's not for us to know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
Roberta in the truth zone, mic hitting raw. Spotlight shining, she exposing the flaw. Debunking the myth, breaking their facade. This is Glass City, respect the squad. On these NYC blocks where the skyline flex big. Roberta Glass slicing lies with a truth rig. Innocence frosters, your stories unravel. She's a map through the madness of gritty gravel. Glass don't bend and facts don't break. She's a storm that's called, you feel the quake. Exposing tales stitched with crooked seams. Justice in the lens, shattered fake dreams. Screams about killers, painted heroes in disguise. She burning propaganda with fire in her eyes. No glamour for the guilty, she call it straight. She backs victims, the voice stay awake. Stats and receipts, no spin, no clutter. Cold cases whisper, she cuts through the mutter. Truth's her tempo, don't confuse the beat. She's standing for the real while you taking a seat. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time to play. She's glass hard, break the false and save the day. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time.
Okay. How is everybody? Hello, MCAS. Hello, Tammie and Gizzy. Hello, Dean Walker. Hello, Tater Bug. Hello, Maestro. Thank you for moderating. So Aidan Kearney looks like he's sweating bullets as he's saying that there's absolutely nothing incriminating at all on his phone between him and Karen. He doesn't even know why they won it. Nothing they did was illegal, but he wants it to be known that this is a very specific search, not a search warrant, that they only can get very specific things, not too much. He gave what I thought was a hilarious interview to, what is it called? What is it exactly called? It is called, I want to call it Baden and blah, 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 but it's actually called Justice Served TV. And we're going to go over that. Also, it's come to my attention that Karen Reed is saying that she wants the Ring camera footage. She wants it more than the Commonwealth wants it, the deleted Ring camera footage. We're going to actually, I think we'll start with that. So this is Karen Reed saying she wants the footage, that it's exonerating to her, and she's upset that it doesn't exist. It's not that she's deleted it, guys. She's upset that the Ring camera footage doesn't exist because it would exonerate her and show her taillight in not smashed to smithereens, but in absolute perfect condition. Let's take a listen.
If you do natural math, there's a point in time when Karen Reed comes home and puts her car in the garage in between those two time periods, but there's no Ring camera footage of that.
We know the Ring video had to be deleted because at 12:41, I leave a voicemail to John where you can clearly hear me pull into John's garage. You can hear my car sensors beeping as I come close to the sides of the garage door. Beep, 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 beep. And then you hear the car go off, and then you hear the sled ding, ding, ding as I open the door, shut the door. I had high heels on that night. You hear me walk in, go in through the stairs up into the kitchen, shut the door, and you hear me walk into the kitchen. It's like a full minute long. That's at 12:41. But the ring video of me arriving home is mysteriously missing. The prosecution is accusing me of deleting the ring, and we're accusing them. Why am I deleting these videos? If anything, I mean, I want the video when I arrive home to show that my taillight's intact. I don't know that it would have captured it, but it could have. They wouldn't want that video in because it would show my taillight's intact. So who has a greater incentive to delete the video?
Right. Do you really want us to answer that, Karen? Do you really want us to answer who has the greater incentive? You facing life in prison or the Commonwealth? But here we go. We'll since you asked, Karen, since you asked.
So who has a greater incentive to delete the video?
Survey said. Oh! Oh, dear.
I got a kick out of that. Certainly just couldn't believe it. You know, you watch Karen Read in those, what were those early interviews with so much confidence. And you look at her defense table now, and it looks like they all know that they're in trouble. I'm not saying that the momentum can't change. Certainly it's changed. It's shifted in this case. Certain times, the Commonwealth in the first trial looked like they were absolutely devastating Karen Read. And at other times, they looked like they were really struggling, ditto the defense. So there has been shifts of momentum and in this case. But boy, does it look like the defense is just lost momentum, lost interest. They seem to be handing Robert Alessi more and more important motions, sitting it out. They're late getting in their filings. They want to delay all the time. They just look like they know they are up against it, that Hank Brennan, and Karen Read had said it, that Hank Brennan is playing hardball. So they know they're up against it. The only one who doesn't seem to really take it in that things have changed so badly for her is Karen Read herself. She seems deluded as always. Maybe she's going to be right. There's an awful lot of evidence against her, but there certainly was against O.J. Simpson, and look what happened. So you never know which way a jury's going to go. You certainly never know the effects of an innocence fraud campaign, like in this case. So, and who knows what tricks they have up their sleeve. This has been one of the most surprising defenses I've ever seen, as far as what I view as dirty dealings. I mean, they've been sanctioned in court already, with an admonished by Judge Kearney for presenting these witnesses. Hold on one second. Oh, terrible allergies. Anybody else getting allergies? Terrible, like presenting these ARCA witnesses as if they were non-biased, non-paid for witnesses, and they've been paying them, they retained them, paid for them. How much more crazy can it get than that? And not only that, but these witnesses were asked, at least Wolf was, you certainly weren't paid for us. Oh no, we're not being, we're not paid by you. I don't know if he took that to mean he's not perjuring himself because he hadn't been paid yet. But he knew the implications to the jury was that they weren't getting paid and that they were paid by a separate entity. And we still haven't heard the details of that federal investigation. That the witness harassment, the number of phone calls there are between Yannetti and Aidan Turtleboy Kearney and Alan Jackson and Aidan Turtleboy Kearney. And I think there's 3 during the heavy period of the witness harassment, 9 by Yannetti and 3 by Jackson during the really heavy period of witness harassment. So my feeling is that this was a strategy from the beginning. Who knows what else? And was leaked to Aidan Turtleboy Kearney. And there is some evidence that he was leaked information that he shouldn't have had. There's references to him looking at the hair evidence, John O'Keefe's hair on the back of Karen Reed's car. Karen Reed showed Aidan Kearney. There's messages talking about how Karen showed him the hair. There's also messages between, these are the ones that we know of, all discovered during the investigation into witness harassment through this mediary, Natalie Bernschneider-Wawicki. And she eventually either was iced out or dropped out, depending on who's telling the story, and cooperated with the Commonwealth in the investigation into witness harassment. And I've gone over her statements, recorded statements to the police, but boy, does it look like Aidan Kearney is scared stiff of what's going to happen to his phone. One correction from yesterday, and we're going to go over the juror situation with the juror being added. She's now given an interview to Vanity Fair. This is, of course, before she was added. This is an alternate juror. This is not the same juror as Juror A. So just want to make a correction there. Or is it Juror B? No, Juror A. Juror A. Maui Swift. Federal appeal denied. Roberta just reported. Federal appeal denied. Yes, denied. Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you, Maui. Good to know. The federal, she's appealing on the juror issues. She was appealing that the jurors really decided that all agreed that she should be acquitted. I always felt it was totally unreliable. It shouldn't be reversed, but glad the higher courts, and now that was denied in the Supreme Court, and she continued on into the federal court with it. All right. Is that right? Do I have that right? I hope so. Trial going full speed ahead. Yeah, they looked like they were going to delay it. Okay. Hello, Funny Bunny. All right, let's get into Aidan Turtleboy Kearney and his hilarious interview. Looks like although the phrase that kept going through my mind was sweating bullets watching this. Looks like he's sweating bullets. And it starts with, they're talking about how the defense used an idea by these 2 lawyers who are also have a YouTube show. And this is very much in line with what innocence fraud campaigns do. They take ideas from all sides and use them. And in this case, this is a pre-trial innocence fraud campaign. So if you have any ideas for Hank Brennan or the Commonwealth, certainly they have really crowdsourced their defense with Karen Reed in this innocence fraud campaign and have used the eagle eye of all the free Karen readers to really bolster their defense. So hopefully we can do the same with the Commonwealth. That's my hope. All right, here is Aidan Kearney's interview on Justice Served TV.
Even for this case, I think is odd. I'm sure it happens all the time where a former juror is now on the defense team as an attorney. I'm sure it happens all the time. I think
it's a great move. I think you and I talked about it.
I think it's a great move too.
I said early on they should go get that juror. In one of our early podcasts, we're looking for the transcripts.
So this is Linda Kearney Baden. She's married to Michael Baden. She's his second wife of Michael Baden, who's the medical examiner for New York. He was removed by Mayor Koch in 1979. He sued for wrongful termination and won a $100,000 lawsuit in our civil courts. He also testified on behalf of O.J. Simpson in his defense. He also did a autopsy of George Floyd, or, helped the George Floyd's families, did an autopsy there for their civil suit, I believe. And also Epstein. So Funny Bunny says, why is Turtleboy attending by Zoom for an important hearing tomorrow? Just saying. I don't know. It should be a very compelling hearing, don't you think? Right? It's the same reason. It's just like what my boyfriend said when Karen Reed came busting into his hearing about getting his phone and said, well, if there's nothing incriminating about between them, why is she busting in? Now, they use the Signal app. Now, I've learned a little bit more from this interview that these messages auto-delete after you send them. Nothing strange about that. He answers those allegations that it's awfully strange to be using an encrypted app that auto-deletes once the receiver reads the message. Oh, this is disgust. And he's in his car.
Yeah. So we're going to get through all of that. But first, and most importantly, we are happy to have back with us Dr. Turtleboy. Aidan Kearney is here. Oh, it's a hostage video. Where are you, dude?
I'm in the garage right now.
You're in the garage? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you all right? Just blink.
I'm good.
If there's a problem.
You're good.
Okay.
Okay. All right. That's good. You're not in a Sally port.
No, not in the, well, I'm not inverted, so.
Well, thank you for joining. I know it's been crazy to say the least, and I think we ought to just jump right into this happened less than an hour ago from what I can tell. Cosgrove, the DA, special prosecutor in your case, which is primarily witness intimidation cases, has asked the judge for an ASAP hearing to get into what? We're guessing things on your phone?
Every time I see him listed or calling himself Dr. Turtleboy, I think of the Dolly Parton movie Straight Talk, where she's Dr. Judy and she's not a real doctor. She's giving advice and she's not a real doctor. It's the big, maybe I just gave too much of it away. That's her big dilemma, is coming clean with her. She's giving all this great advice, but she's not a doctor. At least Dolly Parton was giving good advice. Aidan Kearney is just harassing witnesses and putting out disinformation and helping a cop killer get away with it.
What do you know?
I don't even know what it's about. I'm trying to talk to my lawyers about it. They just got news of it. I assume it's about getting the content, the stuff that the judge ordered for the Rule 17 over to, Hank Brennan. But like I said, there's literally nothing to hand over. Like the order is pretty strict. It says that they get access to any messages with Karen Reed concerning witness intimidation, basically messages I sent witnesses or things I discussed about whatever. Like, no such messages exist. So there's quite literally nothing to hand over. And so, I mean, my concern is that Cosgrove needs to really follow. They need to follow this order.
Aidan Kearney's also put out an affidavit. We're going to go over that, where says that he's basically saying he's a victim of a conspiracy from non-Karen Reed supporters.
To the letter of the law. And it's like, you don't get anything else, nothing else. Like, if you have me and Karen talking about anything else that is not, which we didn't talk about the witnesses ever. Like,
who's deciding that? Who's going through it? Is there?
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand this.
And there's no taint team.
I never talked about that.
So it's like, who? That's what I mean. I don't trust these people. But they'll be honest. It's like, you don't just get to hand over any messages with Karen Reed in my phone. There was a few text messages in there when we weren't on Signal, but those messages are not. There's certainly nothing incriminating on them. But like I said, like, you don't get to hand them over.
Is that Deaf Otter says, I love the Teresa Caputo hair. She does have a very much like a Teresa Caputo look, doesn't she? Linda Kenny Baden. As my mother would say, my grandmother, I think it's my grandmother's expression, my mother's side, she looks done. She looks done up, done. Very much.
Like, if we're talking about the facts of the case, if we're talking about scoops I have, if we're talking about investigative journalism I've done or what I've uncovered in my journalism, which is all we talked about was just the case itself, you don't get to hand that over. I mean, these people think that her and I just sat around plotting witness intimidation. We literally never talked about the witnesses.
Who was going to discuss that? I mean, who in their right mind is going to say there? Maybe unless you're on Signal and you're right now with the administration. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Signal's getting a bad rap right now.
Signal getting a bad rap at this point. Yeah, but who discusses that? Oh, let me take my phone and let me discuss witness intimidation. You're a journalist. You're a journalist.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that are on his phone, shall we? I mean, shall we? I mean, now that you bring it up, Linda, now that you bring it up, no one would do this. Let's see. Has there been any new information about the FBI investigation? Handing out the subpoena, Natalie, who's the middle woman, says no new info, just that they are already present. The case, I think this is a typo here. They already presenting the case to the grand jury as we speak, and the DA's office has been informed. That is confirmed 1,000%. In late April 2023, the Norfolk's DA's office was notified by the Boston U.S. Attorney's Office that witnesses involved in the Commonwealth versus Reed were served subpoenas for a federal grand jury, which would also benefit Karen Reed and has benefited Karen Reed if there's any minute changes in their story. Her defense has already exploited them all. In a later exchange, Natalie wrote to Kearney, bingo was in reference that you go through the names of the U.S. Attorney's Office. Okay, she spoke to David, I'm guessing. Natalie sent Kearney a message that contained in part not public. Levy confirmed no sworns of FBI were in Canton 2 days ago. On May 3rd, Norfolk Superior Court Day, while in open court before Judge Canoni and television cameras, Attorney Alan Jackson reported federal authorities have now gotten involved in circumstances surrounding this case and have impaled a federal grand jury to investigate some circumstances. So, I mean, they were just using each other to put out information. So he denies talking to Karen Reed. He just describes her as a source. He says, that doesn't mean I'm communicating with her or her lawyers. So this is how he goes, okay, Karen Reed is allowed to have friends and they're allowed to talk to me. That doesn't mean I'm communicating with her or lawyers. I tried friend requesting Karen Reed and it came back rejected, but she's not stupid, clearly. I've asked her friend, obviously, can I talk to Karen Reed? Can I talk to her? And the answer is no. So what am I going to do? But on the ID Discovery, Karen Reed, and that was filmed early on, said she talks to him every day. There was like hundreds of calls between them, at least 189 is what I remember. Several text message suggested Karen communicated directly, saying go to Signal. Are you guys on the phone? We're still talking, sending things back and forth. So I don't know how incriminating this is, but it certainly creates a pattern. And if you can line up the dates of when they said go on Signal to certain things happening in the case, you can probably figure out what they're talking about. But I mean, he was leaked the hair, other pieces of information. It's not public. Don't, Natalie's saying don't go forward with it. Make it clear you didn't get it from us, but don't show the exhibits. I mean, they were all just writing the stuff down. Just read them. Please do not show the title. It has Unetti's initials on it, DY. I mean, they would send him things that said do not share. So, I mean, they did send him incriminating stuff. I don't think they ever thought they were going to get caught.
You broke the story.
You know them. They call everything witness intimidation. So that's the problem, is like they call, if you discuss, I think they're definitely looking for, like, are there any messages about the rolling rally? They're obsessed about the rolling rally. Like, and there's nothing in there about the rolling rally. I never discussed the rolling rally with her. I never, cause like, why would I bother her with this? My only interest in Karen Reed was like finding, like information out about the case that I'm covering.
You're interested in her as the get. She's what we call in the business the get, right?
Yeah, she's the main character. She's the subject of my reporting. And so that's my interest in her. I have no interest in telling her that I'm holding a protest.
Linda Baden is going to explain show business to us. She's what you call a get. She's the get.
Test this weekend. That was all me. Like, she had nothing to do with any of that stuff. So,
But I don't see anything wrong with that. I see nothing wrong with that if you're telling her, well, you're holding a protest. So what?
Yeah, even if I did that. Yeah. Even if I had done that, it wouldn't matter.
So, I mean, it's so scary figuring out who the gatekeeper is on this stuff, because I don't, from what I
mean, he's in the middle of the biggest softball interview of his career, or one of them. And he still looks like, this is what he looks like when he gets caught. He's got this look. If you look at him when he's gotten arrested, this is exactly the look he has. Scared. He looks scared. Scared to death. Nothing to see here, guys. Nothing to see here. Absolutely nothing to see here. And they're fighting it like crazy. For what? If there's nothing on there, if it's all go to Signal, what do you care?
I don't trust anybody either. You physically have already turned over whatever phone they want to look at, or not?
They took my phone when the police.
And so it's still in their custody. It has been.
Yeah, forever. Brian Walsh got his phones back. I didn't get my phone back. They gave us a download of the phone that I can't even open because the file's too big, so I can't even go through it. It's not compatible with the Mac, of course. But I am able to see my messages with Karen Reed on there, the text messages. The Signal ones, nothing comes up because Signal is encrypted and it auto deletes, and that's the whole point of it. But often the messages are just like, go to Signal. It's like, because and they're like, well, why would you go to Signal if you're not doing anything wrong? Yeah, because it's the most American way to communicate. Like, why would you want Big Brother reading your messages? Like, we're doing that.
That's like his favorite argument. Do you remember when he made this argument? I feel dirty even talking about this, when he's talking about a certain sexual position. being the most American thing you can do. Now this is the most American way you can communicate is on an encrypted app. It's just American. Is it now? I'm starting to think he's right with the amount of fraud I'm seeing in this case. Maybe it is. Maybe America is rife with fraud by these defense attorneys and in our justice system. But really, we're all want to talk on an encrypted app. Get my phone. It's like a million pictures of my cat and the most boring text messages you've ever read in your life. I mean, would put everyone to sleep.
Because we don't trust the government. We don't trust.
Right.
Like, it's really simple. Like we don't. And it turns out it was completely justified. Like that was a really good idea.
That's the irony. Yep.
These are tyrants who, are overstepping their boundaries and are using the law to, declare warfare on journalists because they're saying things they don't like.
It's exactly what they're doing. They're using the law to declare war, or using a legal case and declaring war on all the witnesses. I mean, using an innocence fraud campaign, certainly.
And take away their constitutional protections. So why wouldn't I protect?
I wish they were using the law. They're going outside the law.
Myself, like I don't, her. If I'm discussing with her a source that I have within the state police or a source that I have within the district attorney's office, of course they'd like to see that, but they don't get to see that because that's a private conversation between a journalist and the source of his reporting. And ironically, like a lot of the messages that her and I had, it's like sometimes, she was the reporter. Like sometimes, like she would find out information from me. Like there's one thing included in the most recent filing Cosgrove had in my case. He quoted it, so it's out there. It's like she says something to the effect of, I forget the exact thing. It was something to the effect of like, "Oh, Alan wants to blast this," or something like that. Like I forget what it was. Like, do you have the memo? This is in the filings. Do you have the memo town employees were emailed about speaking to you or other reporters? Alan wants to blast it. So that's in the most recent filing. And so that's in regards to, that was like August 8th, 2023. That was right after I wrote the Lucky Loughran story about the plow driver. And I had interviewed him and it was kind of a big story. And after I broke it, Lucky like called me like crying. Like he was so upset. He's like, I'm going to lose my job over this. They just sent a
Right, because up until then, I think the way that this campaign, they were looking to blame him at one point. And so he joined on board and said what they wanted to say. And then now he's worried for joining Free Karen Reed that he's, and talking to Aidan Kearney that he's going to get fired from his job.
Out at work telling us we're not allowed to speak with the media and this and that. Like he was so worried. And I told Karen that like, I'm like, this guy is freaking out over this. Like they're like threatening him for talking. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, can we get that memo? Like that we want to blast that memo because they're trying to literally talk about intimidating witnesses. Mm-hmm. This guy's literally a witness, arguably the most important witness in the entire trial. And they are trying to scare him. Like, is it like you're going to lose your job, which is what he loves to do. Obviously, is just plow the roads. You're going to lose your job if you don't testify about this. Like that's witness intimidation. Like the thought of economic, harm, like losing your job. And so that, like, why wouldn't you want to release that? Like, why wouldn't you want to make that information public? We're not intimidating the witnesses. We're reporting.
Right, reporting on what's happening. Reporting on what could be intimidation or some days.
Right, going to people's homes, from home to home. That's the rolling rally, and calling them killers. And attacking the witnesses' the victim's family, too. I mean, people forget that. he's like, you're trying to stop justice for John O'Keefe, and we've had it with you. I mean, the stuff that's in the, I've gone through it, but the stuff that's in the search warrant for Karen Reed's phone, it's 30 pages. But the rolling rally is crazy. I mean, the fact that he thought that was just free speech is just wild. Calling people, harassing them, ordering food at T&E Pizza, and not picking it up. I mean, that's what's alleged in here. He's encouraging other people to do that. It's straight up harassment. This is the quote. During the drive to the police station, Kearney, so this is during the rolling rally, Kearney stated the family members of John O'Keefe should believe Karen Reed is not responsible for the death, and quote, how much slack are we going to give you, meaning the O'Keefe family, the time period for the grief, whatever, that we are going to give you. Like, we are not going after you because of the grief. That is expired. It's expired because you're trying to send an innocent woman to jail for the rest of her life. I don't feel bad for you anymore. Kearney later remarked that he was planning on protesting outside the front of former Canton police officer Kenneth Berkowitz, but was unsure if he had moved from a specific address, he stated. Kearney stated, I don't want to take the chance that he doesn't live there anymore. I don't want to bother innocent people. Isn't that ironic? I mean, this is the kind of stuff this is his reporting and his great journalism.
Say could possibly be obstruction of justice too. And it's done. Just so people out there think that it's not done. When we tried Aaron Hernandez, we had a driver, a street sweeper, coming through the crime scene while the police were there. And of course, he was our witness. We were going to interview him. And of course, they brought him in with a phony subpoena that he was going to testify in the court, the cops. He testified for us, but eventually he did have to lose his job. All right. So it happens, everybody. Don't think it's so pure out there.
I don't think anybody thinks much is pure in this particular case. That's for sure. Hey, let me ask you this.
Wait. There's a big gap in that story. So are we supposed to, is there any connection between the person that testified for Linda Baden and I guess the state and I think she was a prosecutor, and losing their job? Or did they lose their job for other reasons? There's a big gap in that story, right? We're supposed to connect the two, them testifying and them losing their job. She's saying because they were a witness in a case, they lost their job. That seems like an automatic lawsuit to me, but who knows?
Just to the degree you can share it. As a witness, at least listed witness, I know they want to keep everybody out. Any move on getting excluded from the sequestration?
I mean, that's our next maneuver. Whatever, my lawyers are working on it, so I don't know what they're doing, but they are doing something. So we'll see what they come up with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really messed up. Like, this is my livelihood. Is right, and the trial is this is gonna be the most watched trial in the country. Part 2, arguably bigger than the first one.
And I think no doubt.
Because of the HBO thing, and
right. So he says that because he's a witness, he can't be in the courtroom, and they're just trying to keep him out of the courtroom, and they're never going to call him. Which could be, they could not call him. It's certainly going to be a more streamlined prosecution of Karen Reed. They're not calling Karina Cactus, or however you pronounce her name. It's a tongue twister. And her lawyer husband this time around. But I think that if they're trying to get the messages, wouldn't you think that he would be testifying? If they're bringing in the witness harassment campaign, wouldn't you think Turtleboy is testifying? Doesn't that seem logical? Is he going to just read out some of these messages and call it a day? Wouldn't you think that they would examine Aidan?
It's getting a lot of publicity nationwide. A lot of people who didn't know about this case before are going to tune in and watch it. It's it's the most entertaining trial ever with all these witnesses. Like, it's just crazy. And, to not be able to discuss that and watch it, you are literally taking away my ability to feed my family. Like that's what you're doing. Like, this is how I make a living. And because you're doing a crafty maneuver here, you have no intention of calling me as a witness. Zero. There's no way I'm going to be called as a witness, but putting me on this list is simply a way to prevent me from not only being in the courtroom, but from even doing my show and making a living.
Yeah, and I think you have a good argument in the sense of, didn't you also put the attorney, some of the Karens?
Wait, why can't he do his show? He can't do his show? He can't report on court if he's a witness? Is that right? That doesn't, oh, I guess that's right, because he can't watch he shouldn't be watching the trial, right? Because he's a witness? Is that right? That's why you're barred from the courtroom. Good point. Okay. He can't report on anything else while Karen Reed's going on until he testifies?
Attorneys on the witness list, Yannetti, Jackson, right? And how can they be sequestered from being in the courtroom? So, you can add all you want to the witness list, but there has to be a prima facie showing. But the problem you have is you don't trust anybody to give you a fair hearing. That's the problem, I see.
Right. I don't trust any of these people at all. So their intentions are bad. I mean, what would Hank ever want to put me on the witness list for if he knows he's not going to call me? This was by design. And Peggy O'Keefe's comment to me on the way out of like, what the hell is he doing here? It's like, clearly she had been promised, like, oh, he'll be out of the picture. Like, he won't be here,
Well, I was shocked that he was allowed in the courtroom the first time round, frankly. And was allowed to sit there so close to some of the witnesses that he harassed. I mean, I think he was only out for one.
Like, we'll take care of that. And so obviously this is what they plan to do.
And how does Judge Sositsky still get this now? Wasn't he just on the case temporarily because your main judge was on vacation? Shouldn't it go back to the judge who was handling this? Because this is like, you get these notices, like your attorneys get these notices like 5 minutes before they're going to happen, it seems to me, right? Yeah. There's not the courtesy call, like, I'm going to file this and this is what we're going to do. And, do you have is it okay? Should we do this tomorrow, the next day? Usually the common courtesy attorneys will give. I don't see that being given to your attorneys.
No, I don't see that being given to them at all. Like, we just found out that we're going to have a hearing tomorrow or Friday. Like, so that just, okay. I had stuff to do, but whatever. It's like, you got to deal with this now.
Is this on something different, or is it related to this?
I think it's this phone thing.
The emergency.
Right.
The emergency.
Yeah, it's like emergency. It's like,
okay.
Yeah.
So Cosgrove should be on the beach.
Not happy. He's not happy. Not happy at all. Not happy about this phone thing. I mean, if it's nothing, it'd be a minor inconvenience, If there's really nothing on it.
Somewhere, just
and why should it be why should it be an emergency? Is Hank Brenner planning to open with something? Is he planning to try to arrest you again on some reason? I mean, what
did they arrest me for?
Nothing. No, but I'm not saying that it's a valid arrest. I'm just saying, are they trying to do something else? I mean, what's the emergency here? Because they're picking a jury on Monday?
Yes, that is most likely the emergency is time.
Yeah.
They need to get this done before the trial. So,
Wow.
Well, speaking of jurors, just when you think you got all the weirdness out of this thing, a juror becoming a member of the defense team, an alternate, but tell us the backstory as you know it, because you had contact with this former juror, right? Is this the one you talked to, or is this a different one?
I've never spoken to this one.
Never spoken to this one. I can't keep all of them straight with those you've talked to and those you haven't talked to.
Yeah.
And so she was on the larger panel, was excused as an alternate. is an attorney, apparently not a criminal attorney in background, but now she is because she's on the defense team. What are your thoughts on that?
Pretty wild.
Yes, pretty wild.
You know,
Pretty
just
smart.
Just when you thought the story couldn't get crazier. Pretty smart, you say?
I think it's pretty
agree.
smart.
Well, I mean, I don't think how is she a jury expert? You know, it just shows us that my theory that there was turtle riders on the jury was correct. I mean, she was an alternate and she cried apparently and had a sidebar with Judge Kearney. She felt it was unfair. There was a conspiracy against her that she was randomly not picked to be an alternate. I mean, who has those strong feelings going into a trial that they want to be on a jury so much? That should have been a red flag. She should have been taken off right there. Just wanted to read you about some of the more nothings on the phone. Over the course of the next text message conversations, Natalie forwards personal information and pictures of many of the named witnesses above, including Jennifer McCabe, Chris Albert, and Colin Albert. In one part of the conversation, Kearney wrote, "Anything else I should talk about that I haven't hit in the blogs yet? Feel like I'm out of new material." In mid-May, Kearney sent Natalie a picture of himself wearing a t-shirt depicting a Google search bar with the phrase, "Hast long to die in cold," a reference to a piece of evidence in Commonwealth versus Reed. Natalie responded that she will ask Karen if he can wear it to court. Natalie tells Kearney, "It's okay to wear the t-shirts. House long to die in the cold. I got the okay." "Really? You asked Alan?" An apparent reference to one of Karen's attorney, Alan Jackson's. Natalie responds, "She replied, absolutely." Kearney was seen wearing the shirt at the July 25th court date, as shown in the pictures above. I mean,
Why do you say that? Just because?
I'll tell you, but because when she first came out and had the little statement that, about being fair and all, I think on our show I said the defense should go grab her right now. She should be there. She should consult on what they should be doing. So I think it's pretty smart. Not only that, but make her a attorney for Karen Reed, because everything is privileged that she then says.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, she is like a jury consultant plus, like a jury consultant on steroids.
That's what I said. That's what I thought. My
And
initial.
she's got the attorney-client privilege now. Okay, when she gets hired, simple as that. So what are they going to do? Come after her? Come after her and say, "Well, there's no sanctity in the jury room," because she wasn't in the jury room. She didn't deliberate.
There's no conflicts. It's really the perfect scenario. All right, I love it. I love it.
I guess it's smart.
it's the perfect scenario to get your propaganda out into the public domain and poison the jury pool when there's a gag order on your lawyers. So right before she became a lawyer, she did these interviews for Karen Reed where she really goes after the Commonwealth for prosecuting Karen Reed. Also, a check of the text messages from Natalie. This is the middle woman. Phone reads several instances where it appears Kearney communicated directly with attorneys Alan Jackson and David Unetti, the first being on April 22nd, 2023. Natalie sends Kearney a message. "Did you talk to AJ today?" And Kearney responds, "Just saw his text. Gonna give him a call in a bit." On May 2nd, Natalie sent Kearney the message, "Colin has a lawyer. Ask Unetti about it." On May 5th, Natalie sent Kearney the message, "Tell Turtleboy from me, be strong, Aidan. Get down for a day, but wake up and keep fighting tomorrow. Please call Alan and spitball your issues with him if you want to. and nothing gives you a shot in the arm like talking with AJ. Natalie later asked, did you call him? And Kearney replies, just did. On several occasions, the nature of the relationship between Karen, her defense attorneys, and Kearney is discussed. In one such exchange on May 7th, Kearney stated he disagrees with Alan Jackson's theory of when O'Keefe was allegedly moved to the front lawn. Kearney wrote, keep in mind, Karen, AJ, and myself don't officially talk, only unofficially. It would be normal for me to have opinions that differ from the defense, although we all agree that Karen has nothing to do with it.
So I guess she can talk to them about what worked, what didn't work. Who knows?
Sure.
But can't imagine her actually being in the courtroom for this, because it's not like she's going to cross-examine any witnesses. But I would assume there's things that she can do at war room meetings and behind the scene and, whatever. So
insights that she can provide that not too many others could. So
an image of bias, and this is perfect because an image of bias is what we're all how does Hank get these hearings? Hank Brennan get these hearings scheduled at a moment's notice, but you go through 3 judges over 5 months and nothing happens.
I don't know. It's a great question. Great question. So
great question. And we heard today that Judge Cosgrove actually was in the investiture ceremony for Judge Beverly Cannoni. Did we hear that right?
Yeah, he was the opening speaker at our Judge Superior Court, whatever, commencement,
Yes. So
whatever.
All right. So you get the idea. That's a beaten down Aidan Kearney. Also, let me throw these 2 things out of the studio. Let me share my screen. Here is Aidan Kearney and Commonwealth versus Karen Reed, affidavit of Aidan Kearney. Now comes the defendant, Aidan Kearney, on oath, and hereby states the following to the best of his knowledge and information and belief. I am the defendant in the above captioned matter. I have a criminal harassment order against Catherine Peter, recently renewed for 1 year in the Leominster District Court, docket number, blah. She also has been charged with felony witness intimidation against me, also in the same court. Peter is also the subject of a criminal harassment order protecting a good friend of mine who Peter targeted solely as a result of her being associated with me. Peter is also accused of violating that order 3 times, and there are criminal cases still pending in the Stoughton and Denham district courts against her, as well as felony witness intimidation charges against her in the Denham district court. So does everybody know that this is Masshole Mafia, Kate Peter? All of these cases have special prosecutors keeping the Norfolk DA's office away from the cases. I am trying to protect my friend's privacy and prevent further harassment of her, but if further information is necessary, I will provide it through my attorneys. Peter, according to her Facebook and or X postings, is privy to ongoing information, leaks from the Norfolk's DA's office in my and the Karen Reed cases. For example, Peter has on several occasions published law enforcement information that has not been yet made public. On October 11, 2024, the day after I was arrested, Peter, on her Masshole Mafia Facebook page, wrote to Reed attorney David Yannetti, quote, "We know you've been involved in Aidan Kearney's little witness harassment game, and your texts with him from phone seized the day before by state police have already been making the rounds. See screenshot. She also knew, as shown by her post on September 29, 2024, that I would be arrested on October 10th, 2024, saying, October 10th, he knows the deal. I was, in fact, arrested by state police assigned by the Norfolk DA's office just one day after that assertion on October 11th. She also knew the identities of Janelle Webb and Michelle Littlefield, the police dispatcher and the Staunton court employee charged and fired respectively in connection with allegations against me before their identities were made public. She could have only acquired this information from the state police or DA's office. There are other bloggers receiving confidential law enforcement information against me as well. One, Kevin Lenahan, posts as Yellow Cottage Tales and reports over and over that his information comes from multiple sources connected to the Massachusetts State Police, the DA, and witnesses, and that he gets information from, quote, multiple close sources, unquote, that the Massachusetts State Police and the Norfolk DA have been informed that, etc. Finally, one Jennifer Coffindaffer has been used as a third-party mouthpiece, quote unquote, revealing confidential information for the DA's office. She was privy to GPS data relating to Ms. Reed's vehicle in that case, which she published 2 weeks prior to law enforcement revealing it to the public. So if there's no connection between him and Karen Reed, or he's not another wing of Karen Reed's defense, why does he care what Jennifer Coffindaffer knew about Karen Reed's car, which she published 2 weeks? Okay, she was privy to GPS data relating to Ms. Reed's vehicle in that case, which she published 2 weeks prior to law enforcement revealing it to the public. She also knew that the DA's office would seek mitochondrial DNA testing in that case 6 days before that was publicly revealed. Based on the above, it is clear that the DA's office and or the state police assigned to that office are leaking confidential data and will continue to do so with my phone data. So he's saying, you can't have my phone data. This sounds desperate. And also like he's losing his mind, like he's involved in a big conspiracy, because that it will be leaked to Karen Reed non-supporters or half non-supporters who think she's guilty of something, of some smaller, lesser charge than second degree. Signed this 26th of March, 2025, under pains and penalty of perjury, Aidan Kearney. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk about the juror in the Karen Reed case, the alternate juror, juror number 12, who is now part of Karen Reed's legal team. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Mic check, Roberta strides through the static haze. True crime Gotham where the shadows play their plays. Fraudsters fold when a spotlight beams. Fact-focused queen busting propaganda schemes. Glass shatter lies echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light. Hard task warrior, dissecting state and defense. Twisted innocence, claims breaking pretense. Gotham's truth seeker cuts clean with the blade. Facts in the forefront, no justice gets swayed. Cold facts drip heavy, real talk unfurls. Cracking cases open like oysters with pearls. Innocence gimmicks crumble to dust in the wind. For victims, her creed, justice till the end. Headphones blazing, she drops heavy artillery. Narratives twisted, meet blunt object civility. Roberta got receipts that unravel the ploy. Exposing the lies these fraudsters deploy. Glass shatters lies, echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light.
Okay, here we go. Juror number 12, the alternate juror, now part of Karen Reed's team. This is from the timeline. Victoria Brophy George. Someone yesterday broke that Karen Reed's lawyer he was never seen again. He works for David Yannetti's law firm. Ian Henchy also graduated from Northeastern University School of Law at around the same time as Victoria Brophy George. So Innocence Fraud Watch puts it between September 2017 and May 2020. Here's a look at her. On March 20th, Aidan Turtleboy Kearney published a blog headed Canton Cover-Up Part 499, Karen Reed Defense Team adds, alternative juror from first trial who released public statement condemning the Commonwealth. Below is some of what Aidan Kearney previously published on X about Victoria Brophy George, the alternative juror from Karen Reed's 2024 trial for her murder of Boston police officer John O'Keefe, who Kearney referred to as Juror 12. April 16th during jury selection, and we go through May, and on April 29th, we had the first day of evidence given in 2024. May 16th, 2024, Larry Foreman, aka the DUI guy who attended Depp v. Heard. This morning, in an unexpected turn of events, I was consulted by Karen Reed and Alan Jackson about my professional and legal opinion about certain parts of the case. Then again by David at the end of the proceedings for the day. Both of these facts I must maintain in confidence for obvious reasons, but I am truly humbled to be not seen as a mere spectator, but more of a colleague. I almost forgot what I was there for a few minutes. May 17th, Grant Smith Ellis reports, whoa. I am now hearing reports that Larry Foreman forged a Supreme SJC rule credential, 119 credential, to obtain access to Norfolk Superior Court today as a member of the media. Mr. Foreman's name is not on the most up-to-date SJC, so it's an SJC list. So that must be for journalists. Let's see. Let me look. That's the rule it's under, the SJC rule, Supreme Judicial Court Public Information Office list. Okay, gotcha. During the jury selection in the case of accused murderer, this goes on, Karen Reed, a YouTuber named Larry Foreman, aka the DUI guy, known to be an ally of former Karen Reed PR person Aidan Turtleboy Kearney, was removed from the courthouse for forging. Document on June 6, 2024. Aidan Kearney says juror 12, who frequently dozes off or looks at the ceiling when Adam Lally speaks, wrote with a purpose in her notebook. Almost all of the jurors wrote that down. So Buchanan admits that the ring camera footage shows movement of John O'Keefe's car being hit by Karen Reed's Lexus. Juror 12, who frequently dozes off or looks at the ceiling when Adam Lally speaks, wrote with purpose in her notebook. Almost all of the jurors wrote that down. I can tell you with certainty that there is no way this jury is going to convict Karen Reed. June 6, 2024. Once during the trial, after she drove past a Free Karen Reed billboard outside Gillette Stadium, she told Norfolk County Superior Court Judge Beverly Canone to make sure she was on the up and up. The court assured her she was. Julie Miller on Victoria Brophy George. June 10th, 2024. Aidan Kearney on X says Proctor just had to read a text he wrote saying that he went through Karen Reed's phone and was disappointed that he didn't find naked pictures of her. Juror 3 shook her head in disgust, mouthed something and looked away. Juror 12, this is George, opened her mouth in shock, rolled her eyes, and looked away from him in disgust. There is no coming back from this. Again, until you see the jurors' faces, you can't understand how truly over this is. June 12, 2024. Aidan Kearney, Juror 3 just nodded her head in anger and disgust as Alan Jackson reads all the horrible things Michael Proctor has texted about Karen Reed. Juror 12 buried her head in her hands. There is no need for this to continue. The jury is ready to acquit now. Knowing he was the lead investigator and based on his own words, he had pretty strong personal bias against the person in the defendant's chair. How do you ever trust the evidence coming from this investigation? Victoria Brophy George. June 14th, 2024. Juror B is dismissed, and Juror A was allowed to stay until another issue arose for Juror A by June 25th, 2024. Judge Canone referred to the issues between Juror A and Juror B from page 18 to 26 in her memorandum of decision on order of defendant's motion to dismiss for extraordinary governmental misconduct. On the 17th of June, Aidan Kearney writes, I can't express in words how bored the jury currently looks. Juror 12 looks like she's in a coma. They all have their minds made up. The only point of any of this is just to further discredit the Commonwealth. Aidan Kearney writes, this is John DePietro had written, Trooper Paul, while knowledgeable, speaks in a hard-to-hear nasal tone. However, he comes off very earnest with the jury. Aidan writes, this is a complete lie. John can see the same jury I can, particular jurors 3 and 12, who keep laughing at Joseph Paul. John is here to spread disinformation. I'm here to correct it. June 18th, Jessica Mikado. Last Friday, one of the jurors in the Karen Reed trial was dismissed from serving on the jury. The juror was inadvertently caught on camera as she made her way to the bench to speak with Judge Canone. As I previously stated, it was obvious there was an issue prior to getting caught on camera. Otherwise, why would she have been headed to the bench to begin with? Sources tell me this juror was bad-mouthing Karen to other jurors in the jury room. Some of the things being said included Karen always turning around talking to her parents, as well as Karen smiling and making faces. Sources tell me one juror had enough and spoke up, and allegedly other jurors were questioned and said she needs to go. I gave some jurors nicknames at the start of the trial and called this juror Mama because she reminded me of a grandmother who, if she could, would knit a blanket from the jury box. I posted about her several times while covering the case. I will post the screenshots in this thread. A few things about Mama. Identified early on that she was most likely close in age to Peggy O'Keefe. She dressed in the same style as Peggy O'Keefe and had similar hairstyle. Mama sat in the front row in the center, and she was the only juror that had a direct line of sight to Peggy O'Keefe, and she was ground level and straight across from where John's family was seated. Aidan Kearney writes on June 25th, breaking news, Juror 3 was brought up to the front to speak with Judge Canone. This is by far the most obvious not guilty vote on the jury. She made disgusting facial reactions during Michael Proctor's testimony and mouthed what while shaking her head during Trooper Paul's testimony, when another fellow juror began to openly criticize Reed before deliberations began. According to several jurors, she and her peers reported the person to Kearney. The juror they reported was dismissed. Julie Miller on Victoria Brophy George. Juror A dismissed before closing arguments. Juror A was dismissed after she was apparently overheard talking about the case in the American Legion in Denham. Judge Kearney referred to the jury issue in her opinion. Judge Kearney's decision was as follows. I believe there is credible evidence that this juror has had conversations about this case. She did not deny it. I find that there has been a violation of the court order for failure to report it on a repeated basis. Judge Kearney also stated the defendant's first argument relies on a significant claim about clairvoyance, about juror A's sympathy at the sidebar conference, and is premised on an unsubstantiated claim regarding Fanning's involvement with the jury. Aidan Kearney, this is wild. They just did a raffle to decide the alternates. They chose juror 12, the very obvious pro-Karen Reed juror. She couldn't hold back her disgust during the Proctor testimony. The remaining jury consists of 6 men and 6 women. George requested a sidebar with Kearney, and she recalls saying that their dismissal from the voting pool did not seem like a coincidence. Kearney declined to comment for this story. So she's mad that the pro-Karen Reed's dismissal was not a coincidence. Okay. Juror 8 had his head in his hands. Juror 12 looks like she's falling asleep. Juror 4 looks like a child sitting through Sunday Mass, closes eyes and holds back yawn. Lally is doing Lally things. Juror 12 looks like she just finished crying and is sniffling and breathing heavily. After juror number 3, she looked the most likely not guilty vote yesterday. She was randomly chosen as an alternate. She was heavily invested throughout the trial, sitting on every word when she wasn't looking like she was falling asleep or in a coma, apparently. She was sitting on every word. She rolled her eyes in disgust during Proctor's testimony. She looks generally shook up that she will not be able to decide Karen Reed's fate. Juror 13 and 12 sat right behind Juror 3. They would frequently have friendly talk during breaks and appeared to get along well. They were the 3 jurors called by Kearney to sidebar last week when there was an issue with Juror 5, indicating they had reported her for something. Yesterday, the 3 jurors eliminated were 3, 12, and 13. The odds of 3 being chosen not to be on the jury are astronomical. I'm still certain it's not going to be not guilty, but there's nothing this corrupt court won't do that will make it more difficult for Karen Reed. June 27th, the jury confirms that they have not disclosed the case with anyone outside of themselves since yesterday. One of the alternate jurors is wearing a bright pink dress, the same color Reed supporters are wearing outside. She's the same alternate who seemed to be crying yesterday. Juror 12 cried the day she found out she was an alternate. She was an obvious not guilty vote. She seemed upbeat and happy today. Take what you will. I really want to interview her when this is done. Open invitation to any juror who wants to speak with me on or off the record. July 3rd, 2024. Aidan Kearney published a blog headed Canton Cover-Up Part 369. 3 not guilty jurors eliminated on final day of Karen Reed trial. One of the 3 jurors not chosen to vote on Karen Reed's guilt or innocence is speaking out about her thoughts on the trial in an interview with WBZ News. According to her, she would have voted to acquit. Juror 3, exhausted, disappointed. I was not in the room where it happens. It was a lot to sit in a quiet room for almost a week. Did the Commonwealth meet its burden? Juror 3 says, I approached this trial as if I was taking one of my graduate level classes. I would get an A+ in note taking. I believe the Commonwealth did not do their job to convince me beyond a reasonable doubt that Karen Read was guilty of the charges. Juror number 3, who I will refer to as Juror 13 because I counted the front row first throughout the trial, not the back row, was an educated-looking woman in her early 60s with short brown hair and glasses. She sat in a triangle with juror number 12 and 3, and the three of them would make light conversations during break in the trial. After closing statements that day, a lottery was held to determine which two of the remaining 14 jurors would be alternates. Coincidentally, Clerk Jim McDermott drew the numbers for Juror 13 and then Juror 12. Juror 12 was seen crying. I can confirm with 100% certainty on July 18, 2024, Aidan Kearney wrote that the juror in the pink dress who was crying after being chosen as an alternate, after displaying visible disgust during Michael Proctor's testimony, is an attorney. I can also confirm that she was pregnant throughout the trial. August 7th, 2024, Aidan Kearney claimed jurors 2, 12, 13 reported juror 5. Aidan, March 5th, 2025, Karen Read had a double jeopardy hearing in federal court in Boston, followed by motions in Norfolk Superior Court, Denham, Mass. on March 5th. At some point, Victoria Brophy George gave a statement to Christina Rex, which was published following the hearing. I was a fair-minded juror who left this trial questioning the integrity of the system long before the defense filed a motion to dismiss with allegations of juror tampering. It is the Read case itself and the fact that it is still being brought that has left many in Massachusetts wary, distrustful, and scared of our system. As a lawyer, the reality saddens me even more because I remember how much faith I had in our system as a law student. Mr. Brennan made an impassioned argument today regarding his alleged concern that some might be questioning the fabric of our entire judicial system. If he truly would like to address that problem, I have a few suggestions. Perhaps the Norfolk County DA's office should be more focused on remedying the systemic issues. With the systemic issues plaguing our legal system and the affiliated police departments, rather than continuing to spend millions of taxpayer dollars prosecuting a case with so many evidentiary issues that it calls into question whether they are even following ethical obligations as prosecutors. Attorney Brennan implied that the defense was responsible for causing sentiments of distrust in the justice system simply by questioning inconsistencies, inconvenient facts, and missing evidence. If, as a lawyer, I was too afraid to stand up for what I believed in, who would? Victoria Brophy George says. Possible gag order violation. Victoria Brophy George allegedly contacted Alan Jackson after reading the above. George called Jackson shortly after seeing the ruling to express her mounting frustration as Read's second murder trial approached. George joked that she is still licensed to practice law in Massachusetts should Read need an extra hand. Over the course of the conversation, the suggestion became less of a joke and more of a potential reality. On March 26, Read filed a motion to add George to the team. Coordination, innocence fraudster and gaslighter Julie Miller, writes for Vanity Fair, had a story published by Vanity Fair headed "A Juror from Karen Read's First Murder Trial Has Joined Her Defense Team." Victoria Brophy George stated she had emailed Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan as follows: Victoria Brophy George, do hereby certify that I served this appearance of counsel upon the Commonwealth by emailing a copy on March 26, 2025. I was impressed by his background and naively thought that he would see the overwhelming evidentiary issues with the case against Karen Read. At minimum, I thought he would encourage the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office to dismiss 2 of the charges, given constitutional double jeopardy concerns. Labor, and here's Aidan saying labor and employment attorney Victoria Brophy George has been added to Karen Read's defense team. She had her number randomly selected as an alternate. Okay. I waited here's her manipulative innocence front tactic. I waited for nearly a year after the mistrial, hoping the court system would work as intended to remedy some of the wrongs in this case. So again, playing it out in the court of public opinion. She's now a mouthpiece for Karen Read. Unreal, right? Heisenberg says, I can't wait for the final chapter, Turtleboy versus Karen Read. Should be good, right? Should be very, very good. I want to... Let me just take a quickie break and then we'll wrap up. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Mic check, Roberta strides through the static haze. True crime Gotham where the shadows play their plays. Fraudsters fold when a spotlight beams. Fact focused queen busting propaganda schemes. Glass shatter lies echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light. Hard task warrior, dissecting state and defense. Twisted innocence, claims breaking pretense. Gotham's truth seeker cuts clean with the blade. Facts in the forefront, no justice gets swayed. Cold facts drip heavy, real talk unfurls. Cracking cases open like oysters with pearls. Innocence gimmicks crumble to dust in the wind. For victims, her creed, justice till the end. Headphones blazing, she drops heavy artillery. Narratives twisted, meet blunt object civility. Roberta got receipts that unravel the ploy, exposing the lies these fraudsters deploy. Glass shatters lies, echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light.
I am back. I want to thank Carol Halderman, Marcie Denton, Heather, Shelley, Marcie Denton for donating via Venmo. I really appreciate it. I also want to thank Ellen Solari for becoming a patron. That is the best way to support the channel. One of the best ways. I should have something new up there soon. I am off tomorrow and hope to get to it. There is some new stuff. I put up censored episode I did about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. The whole thing is up now on Patreon. And what else? So is everybody looking forward to the hearing? Does anyone know if the hearing's going to be broadcast tomorrow between Aidan, Turtleboy, Kearney, and the Commonwealth? I also want to thank Tammie for buying me 3 cups of coffee. Did I cover the Kevin Spacey stuff? No, but I actually have some personal knowledge on the Kevin Spacey actually like aggressively harassed a friend of my brother's. So that's why I have a feeling he was a very heterosexual guy and just like wouldn't leave him alone, left like a million messages like, hey, it's Kevin. Get it. He's living with his girlfriend. He's a bartender and he met Kevin Spacey while he was, Kevin Spacey walked into his bar. And it just like would not leave him alone. It was very much like the pattern that you see in the documentary from the people talking about Kevin Spacey in the documentary. Yeah. So I think that, so does anyone know if it's on, no one knows if it's being broadcast? All right. Well, if it's going live, I hope to I'll look into broadcasting it. And thank you so much for listening. I am off tomorrow, but I'll be back Saturday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Have a terrific night, everyone. Please support the channel. Leave me a comment. Great comments lately. I read every single one of them and get so much out of them. Share this episode. Follow me on X at Roberta Glass Pod. Support me via Patreon, Venmo, buy me a coffee. I'll see you Saturday at 6 p.m. Have a great night, everybody.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment, I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system a clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Carry, Jen, like John, you were my mom. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit yet. I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment, I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system a clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my son.